Hare Krishna. We welcome you all to the morning Srimad Bhagavatam discourse here at Radha Kalachanji Dham, Dallas, Texas. My name is Rupanugadas. I'm a disciple of His Holiness Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj and a grand disciple of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And I'll try to keep the microphone up close to me because I know that some of you are at home listening in or at work or on the way to work. And we thank you very much for spending at least part of your day with the Holy Scriptures. No, he was supposed to be here. Okay, thank you. I think maybe we can make it without him. Thank you. Before we begin, we will invoke the blessings of their majesties, Sri Sri Radha Kalachanji. That sounds like Roku. Or is that what it is? Thank you very much. Special background music, sound effects. So, invoking the presence and the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamunatira Bhandachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Nitai Gaura Premananda. This morning we'll be continue our reading in the 27th chapter of the 4th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And we'll be asking you all to help me to read some of the shlokas. We're going from text number 13 to text number 30. So if my math is good, that's about 17 verses. So I'm going to need your help in reading some of those. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaimaranottamam Devim Saraswatim Yasan Tato Jayam Mudirayat Nasta Presha Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyatama Shloke Bhakti Bhavidina Istiki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. So, once again, Canto 4, Chapter 27, text number 13. So, who has a microphone sitting in front of him? All right, would you read text number 13, please? Is it on the board? Who's the controller? Are you the controller? Not the supreme, but assistant controller. Mr. Dimno Das is back. Haribo. We need another table? Do we need another table? Okay, text number 13.
O king, in Gandharvaloka, there is a king named Chandavega. Under him there are 360 very powerful Gandharva soldiers.
Okay, now keep in mind that we're reading an allegory, which means a story that is being, can we say, made up by Sri Narada Muni? No. Yes, Sri Narada, isn't it? Talking to King Ratini, what is it? How do you say? Okay. That's a multi-syllabic name. Okay, text number 14.
Hare Krishna. Along with Chandavega were as many female Gandharvis as there were soldiers, and all of them repetitively plundered all the paraphernalia for sense enjoyment.
Okay. Number 15 text.
When King Gandharvaraj Chandavega and his followers began to plunder the city of Puranjana, a snake with 5 hoods began to defend the city.
With 5 hoods. Okay.
The 5-hooded serpent, the superintendent and protector of the city of King Puranjana, fought with the Gandharvas for 100 years. He fought alone with all of them, although they numbered 720.
720, that's twice 360. And 360 is the number of days in a year, correct? Or 364 and a quarter or something? 365. Some lunar calendar, I think it's 360, is that correct, Prabhupada Priya Devi? 360 lunar days. Or days in the lunar calendar, perhaps we should say. Okay, text number 17, who's going to read?
Because he had to fight alone with so many soldiers, all of whom were great warriors. The serpent with 5 hoods became very weak. Seeing that his most intimate friend was weakening, King Puranjana and his friends and citizens living within the city all became very anxious.
Became very anxious, all right? And this city is an allegorical creation of what? What does it represent? The body with 9 gates, including 2 subterranean gates. That's the first time I remember reading that in here also. All right, text number 19.
18.
Is that where we are?
18. King Puranjana collected taxes in the city known as Panchala, and thus was able to engage in sexual indulgence. Being completely under the control of women, he could not understand that his life was passing away and that he was reaching the point of death.
And let's just, I want to look down at the purport to that text and see that what Prabhupada has to say about that. He stated in Srimad Bhagavatam that in the Kali Yuga government, men are Rajanyas, and those connected with the government, as well as all exalted government ministers, secretaries, and presidents, will all simply collect taxes for sense gratification. And we understand it's going to become more and more oppressive as the Kali Yuga presses on, and that eventually people will escape to the forest, escape from the city to the forest, where they will eat all kinds of abominable things. Okay, text number 19, please.
My dear King,
Is it on?
my dear
There
King
we go.
Prachina Parhisha. At this time, the daughter of formidable time was seeking her husband throughout the three worlds. Although no one agreed to accept her, she came.
Although no one agreed to accept her, she was the daughter of formidable time. She came. Okay, text number 20. Someone.
The daughter of time, Jara, was very unfortunate. Consequently, she was known as Durbhaga, ill-fated. However, she was once pleased with a great king, and because the king accepted her, she granted him a great benediction.
All right, notice this name that the daughter of time, Jara, is very unfortunate. Now, we've run across that name Jara before. Can anybody remember where? I'm sorry? Okay. So I think the story was that a king had a sacrifice done to produce male offspring, and he had two queens, and each one of the queens wanted part of the nectar that came from the sacrifice. Is that correct? Am I getting that story correct? Do you recall Prabhupada Priya Devi? Anyhow, so each queen, as a result, as I remember it, gave birth to half of a child. And because this was a useless thing, they tossed the two partial bodies out into the forests. And then a witch came along whose name was Jara. And she used her mystical powers to join the two bodies together and form one person. And that person was known as Jarasandha. Now, you've heard that name said Jarasandha, but it's actually Jarasandha. He was the son of, considered to be the son of Jara. And it was he who fought with Krishna 18 times while Krishna was in Mathura. And each time, Krishna killed all of the armies of Jarasandha. And then Jarasandha went away, and he was all disturbed and defeated, and he was feeling very down, but his close associates, and this gives us an idea of how important one's associates are. They encouraged him to form another army and go back and defeat this rascal, Krishna. So he did so 18 times, and Krishna never killed Jarasandha during that time. And the reason given was that Krishna was wanting these armed forces, the military forces, to be off the planet. Some of whom might even have been his spiritual associates. I'm not sure about that. I'm just guessing now. But anyhow, the reason he did not kill Jara, he said, why should I kill him? He's bringing all these people to me that I have to kill. And so it was as though Jarasandha was performing a favorable task, even though he was very demoniac in his mentality. And eventually, does anybody know who killed Jarasandh? You know that, huh? How did he kill him? At the a little sign that was given to him. They fought for a number of days. You remember, there were 3 people that came dressed as mendicants to Jarasandh, and requested him to fight. They wanted to fight, and so Jarasandh was very powerful. And let's see, it was Arjuna and Krishna and Bhima. And of the 3, he accepted it. He finally recognized who they were, and yet he went ahead and accepted the invitation to fight with him hand-to-hand combat. But he rejected Arjuna and Krishna on the basis of something. I think Arjuna was younger than him, and Krishna wasn't a Kshatriya or something. He had some reasons for not wanting to fight with him, but he was very happy to fight with Bhimasen. And they were so equally matched that they fought for days, if I remember correctly. And finally, Krishna had picked up a twig. He was standing there, he and Arjuna was standing there watching Jarasandh and Bhima beat each other. And Krishna finally picked up a stick and tore it in 2 in the sight of Bhimasen. And in other words, he was telling Bhimasen, this is the only way you're going to be able to kill this guy, is to rip him apart. And so he did that. He stood on one of his legs and took the other leg and pulled it and just ripped this guy apart. And it said that the body was entirely symmetrical. The 2 bodies were symmetrical. That's how they were put together, right? It's interesting that one body came from 2 different queens, too, you remember. So, interesting pastime. I saw this name Jara, and I was just intrigued. This is the first time I've seen this name applied to anyone besides this witch, who put Jarasandha back together. Okay, could we go on? Someone else? Where are we, 21? Yes.
When I once came to this earth from Brahmaloka, the highest planetary system, the daughter of time wandering over the universe met me. Knowing me to be an avowed brahmachari, she became lusty and proposed that I accept her. Okay, that word is avowed brahmachari. That's good reading, good reading. And so this lady who was known as Durbhaga, or the ill-fated, also known as Jara. I think it was Jara, yeah. Or was it the time? Looking at the previous verse, we see the daughter of time, and then in brackets, Jara. So I don't know for sure whether we're talking about the time or the daughter of time. But anyhow, we see furthermore, a little bit further. Consequently, she was known as Durbhaga, ill-fated. However, she was once pleased with a great king because a king accepted her. And then so this one now, we see that the daughter of time wandering over the universe met me. And who is the person that she met? In other words, who is reciting this? Who? Narada? Sri Narada. Yes. Very good. Okay, text number 22. Do we have another reader? Govinda? The great sage Narada continued, when I refused to accept her request, she became very angry at me and cursed me severely because I refused her request. She said that I would not be able to stay in one place for a long time. And that curse turned out to be actually a blessing for Sri Narada, because he's always traveling all over this material world, and he also can enter the spiritual world.
And we know that he's taken a part not only in Krishna's pastimes, but also in the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And what's his name? All right, Guru Kulis, what is the name of Narada when he appears in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes? Do you know? Srivas Pandit, Sri Srivas. Yes, he's the Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas. So Srivas this is the appearance of Narada Muni. And we can see that he is free to travel throughout the material world and the spiritual world. He, at one time, there was a kirtan going on, and Prabhupada was sitting there, someone else was leading the kirtan. And all of a sudden, Srila Prabhupada began singing, Narada Muni Bhajai Vina Radhika. And he indicated to the person who was leading that he should go ahead and continue leading the kirtan. And at the same time, Prabhupada was singing this song. And later he was asked, why were you singing this? Why did you begin singing this song while the kirtan was going? He says, because Narada Muni appeared. So that's not the only time that Srila Prabhupada has told about Narada appearing. At one point in time, I think Prabhupada was in, I don't know what the location was, but anyhow, some person came in and sat in the back of the room and he was just laughing and laughing. And then he got up and left. And Prabhupada did not make any gestures of being disturbed by that at all. He seemed to be very pleased. So later he told some of his disciples that this was Narada who came. All right, shall we go on? We're on text number 24.
After she was thus disappointed by me, with my permission, she approached the king of the Yavanas.
I'm sorry, is that 24?
23.
Oh, we did not read 23. Yeah. Would you begin again, please?
Yeah. After she was thus disappointed by me, with my permission, she approached the king of the Yavanas, whose name was Bhay or fear, and she accepted him as her husband.
You know, now at this point in time, I'm not sure exactly how to take this text, because this person who seems to be a character in the allegory, now Narada is saying that she approached him and wanted him to accept her as his wife. And he refused because he was an avowed brahmachari. So he could not accept and was not willing to accept anyone for a wife. So she approached the king of the Yavanas, whose name was Bhaya, or fear, and accepted him as her husband. So I'm a little confused now about whether these are allegorical characters or whether they're actually personalities within this universe who are the personification of qualities such as fear. Anybody want to respond to that? Get microphone, please, Mother. Sorry to keep the microphone going. Microphone is kind of acting the part of Narada Muni. It's not staying in one place very long.
Hare Krishna. I mean, it seems that there are personalities, because we hear that it says that Krishna is feared by fear personified. So here we're talking about Bhaya, fear personified. And also in the creation, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, where it's describing the creation of Brahma, the first things that he created were qualities in the universe. And it says that I can't remember which quality it was, but she appeared as a form, like a goddess, and she in the twilight. And yeah, so it seems that these qualities do have personified forms which actually resemble human forms in some dimension. Yeah.
And we have other examples of that also too, don't we, with the Ganga Devi. She has a liquid form as a river, and she also has a personal form, like a human being or a demigoddess. And she can bear children, as she did. Okay. You want to take the microphone back over to Durashai Prabhu? Can you read the board from where you are?
I can.
Okay. Where are we? 24 now?
Yes. Approaching the king of the Yavanas, Kalya Kanya addressed him as a great hero, saying, whoops, "My dear sir, you are the best of the untouchables."
You're the best of the worst. Yeah, she's calling him the best of the untouchables. Yeah.
An oxymoron. I am in love with you, and I want you as my husband. I know that no one is baffled if he makes friends with you.
So that's quite a compliment for an untouchable, isn't he? He's a king, and king of the Yavanas. And no one is baffled if he makes friends with you. Okay, text number 25.
One who does not give charity according to the customs or injunctions of the scriptures, and one who does not accept charity in that way, are considered to be in the mode of ignorance. Such persons follow the path of the foolish. Surely they must lament at the end.
Now, I've heard that one of the, is it one of the Varnas is not permitted to accept charity. Is that a Varna or an ashram? Vaishya is not permitted to, or is it a king, the kingly caste? I think it's a Vaishya is not supposed to accept charity. Of course, a king has to levy taxes, and he receives money from all over the kingdom. Brahmachari can accept charity, and a Shudra, I suppose, can accept charity. But a Vaishya is not supposed to. I've read this before. Have you read that, Prabhupada, Devi? Even Vaishyas are allowed to? I'm almost positive that as Vaishya is not permitted to accept charity. In other words, to go out and beg for their livelihood. A king doesn't have to, because he can levy taxes and they come to him automatically. A person who is a sannyasi, well, I guess we're talking about ashrams here. Sannyas ashrams permitted to accept charity. A brahmachari can accept charity. I'm mixing up the two, am I? The varnas and the ashrams. Okay, let's go on. 26. Somebody, please. Who wants to read 26? Bring it back over to the, well, go ahead, read. You can read.
Kalakanya continued, O gentle one, I am now present before you to serve you. Please accept me and thus show me mercy. It is a gentleman's greatest duty to be compassionate upon a person who is distressed.
Okay. There have been personalities who would not accept a woman at some time and they were cursed. Can you think of one? In the Mahabharata? Arjuna. When Arjuna went to the heavenly planets, he was there for a time. He was approached by a goddess and he would not accept her because she was in his family line. She was a great-great-grandmother or something to him. And although she's appearing to him as a beautiful goddess and wanting to have union with him, he would not. And so, do you remember what the curse was? He would become a eunuch, which means no sexuality. He has no sexual identification, either as male or female, for a year. And that worked to his great advantage during the last year of the exile of the Pandavas, when they were out roaming the country and they had to be in exile for 13 years, and so this was the last year. They're in the kingdom of the Matsyas, and so each of the Pandavas, including their wife Draupadi, had to enter the kingdom alone so that they didn't get recognized, because the rule was that if they were recognized, they had to go into isolation, not isolation, they had to go into exile for another 13 years. And so each one individually went in and offered themselves as a servant to the king of the Matsyas at that time, so that they would not be recognized as the Pandavas. And so Arjuna, because he had the status of a eunuch, or one who has no sex, then he took the job of training young girls to dance. And he had to take care of these girls just as though they were his daughters, which means that he bathed them and dressed them and fixed their hair and decorated them. Did you know that? So this is Arjuna during that last year of exile. So of course nobody could recognize, and he had his hair pulled back in like a ponytail or a braid. His hair was braided. And so he looked the part of a eunuch. So this worked in Arjuna's favor. All right, let's go on. Next text is 27.
After hearing the statement of Kalakandya, daughter of time, the king of the Yavanas began to smile and devise means for executing his confidential duty on behalf of Frodin. He then addressed Kalakandya as follows.
Okay, all right, would you read, please? Number 28.
The king of the Yavanas replied, "After much consideration, I have arrived at a husband for you. Actually, as far as everyone is concerned, you are inauspicious and mischievous. Since no one likes you, how can anyone accept you as his wife?"
Okay, let me correct you on one word that you mispronounced here. And that word is not mischievous. There's only two syllables in that word. 3 syllables, not 4. It's mischievous. Now, there are many native speakers of English who say mischievous. I think even at some point in time, I heard my spiritual master pronounce it mischievous also. It's just a very common mistake that is made in our society, but the word is mischievous. 3 syllables. Okay. Would you bring the microphone back up here to the man, please? Text number 29, please.
This world is a product of fruitive activities. Therefore, you may imperceptibly attack people in general. Helped by my soldiers, you can kill them without opposition.
So this is strange. And Prabhupada has comments on it in purport, which we're not going to read. So we'll go to text number 30, please.
Oh, the battery is Hare Krishna. There we go. The king of the Yavanas continued.
The microphone. Are we out of batteries on that?
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, try.
Here's my brother Prajvara. I now accept you as my sister. I shall employ both of you, as well as many dangerous soldiers, to act impersonally within this world.
Now, Prabhu, would you kindly read the purport to text number 30? This wasn't really part of the plan, but I want us to read this as the concluding purport for this chapter, so I'd like to have it read, please. And we have a working microphone.
Hare Krishna. Kala Kanya was sent by Narada Muni to Yavanaraj so that she might become his wife. But instead of accepting her as his wife, Yavanaraj accepted her as his sister. Those who do not follow the Vedic principles are unrestricted as far as sex life is concerned. Consequently, they sometimes do not hesitate to have sex with their sisters. In this age of Kali, there are many instances of such incest. Although Yavanaraj accepted the request of Narada Muni to show respect to him, he was nonetheless thinking of illicit sex. This was due to his being the king of the Yavanas and Malechas. The word Prajvara is very significant, for it means the fever sent by Lord Vishnu. Such a fever is always set at 107 degrees, the temperature at which a man dies. Thus the king of the Malechas and Yavanas requested the daughter of time, Kalakanya, to become his sister. There was no need to ask her to become his wife, for the Yavanas and Malechas do not make distinctions as far as sex life is concerned. Thus one may outwardly be a sister, mother, or daughter and still have sex. Yavanaraj's brother was Prajvara, and Kalakanya was invalidity itself. Combined and strengthened by the soldiers of Yavana Raj, namely non-hygienic conditions, illicit sex, and ultimately a high degree of temperature to bring on death, they would be able to smash the materialistic way of life. In this connection, it is significant that Narada was immune to the attack of Jara, or invalidity. Similarly, Jara, or the destructive force, cannot attack any follower of Narada Muni or another pure Vaishnava.
All right, so this is a statement by Srila Prabhupada that helps us to be firm in our determination to follow the instructions of our spiritual master, who is ultimately a disciple of Narada Muni, our pure Vaishnava. Now let us go back to text number 24, and this is the one that we're going to focus on today. We're going to read responsively, and I'll read the individual words and and then you can respond, please. Rishapam, the best. Yavananam, of the untouchables. Tvam, you. Vrine, I accept. Vira, O great hero. Ipsitam, desired. Patim, husband. Sankalpa, the determination. Twayi, unto you. Bhutanam, of all living entities. Krita, if done. Kila, certainly. Na, never. Rishyati, becomes baffled. Let's try this as poetry. Rishabam yavananam tvam brine virepsitam patim sankalpas tvai bhutanam krita kila narisyati. Chant, please. Rishabam yavananam tam Sankalpastvai Bhutanam Krita Kila Narishyati Rishabham Yavananam Tam Vinay Viritatam Patim Sankalpastvai Bhutanam Krita Kila Narishyati. One more person, please. Rishabham Yavananam Tam Vinay Viritatam Patim Sankalpastvai Bhutanam We've already been through the individual translations of the words. So one of you gentlemen, please read the translation again.
Hare Krishna. Approaching the kings of the Yavanas, Kalakanya addressed him as a great hero, saying, "My dear sir, you are the best of the untouchables. I am in love with you and I want you as my husband. I know that no one is baffled if he makes friends with you."
Okay, would you please read the first paragraph of the purport?
The words Yavananam Rishabham refer to the king of the Yavanas. The Sanskrit words Yavana and Malecha apply to those who do not follow the Vedic principles. According to the Vedic principles, one should rise early in the morning, take bath, chant Hare Krishna, offer Mangala Rati to the deities, study Vedic literature, take prasada, and engage in dressing and decorating the deities. One must also collect money for the temple expenditures, or if one is a householder, he must go to work in accordance with the prescribed duties of a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra. In this way, one should live a life of spiritual understanding, and this is the Vedic way of civilization. One who does not follow all these rules and regulations is called a Yavana or Mlecha. One should not mistakenly think that these words refer to certain classes of men in other countries. There is no question of limitation according to nationalism.
All right, pay attention to this that has just been said. Read those two sentences again.
One should not mistakenly think that these words refer to certain classes of men in other countries. There is no question of limitation according to nationalism.
In other words, you're going to find Malechas and Yavanas wherever you go on the planet. Okay, read on.
Whether one lives in India or outside of India, he is called a Yavana or Mlecha if he does not follow the Vedic principles. One who does not actually follow the hygienic principles prescribed in the Vedic rules and regulations will be subjected to many contagious diseases.
Now, hygienic principles, that means
bathing,
cleanliness of the body, doesn't it? Okay, read on, please.
Because the students in this Krishna consciousness movement are advised to follow the Vedic principles, they naturally become hygienic.
Okay. Would you please read the second paragraph?
Hare Krishna. If a person is Krishna conscious, he can work like a young man even if he is 75 or 80 years old. Thus the daughter of Kala, which is time, cannot overcome a Vaishnava. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami engaged in writing the Chaitanya Charitamrita when he is very old, yet he presented the most wonderful literature about the activities of Lord Chaitanya. Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami began their spiritual lives at a very old age. That is, after they retired from their occupations and family lives. Yet they presented many valuable literatures for the advancement of spiritual life. This is confirmed by Srila Sridivas Acharya, who's
You know-
praised
Go ahead, sorry.
who praised the Goswamis in this way.
Who knows this tune? Would you chant that tune, please? Pass the microphone over to, please, Mother Prabhupada Priya. Are we going to have a duet?
Duet.
All right.
Nana Shastra Vicharanaika Nipuno Saddharma Samstapano Lokanam Hitakarino Tribhuvane Manyo Sharanyakaro Radha Krishna Padaravinda Bhajana Nandena Mataliko Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyugo Shri Jiva Gopalako.
Such a beautiful tune, words. Thank you very much, ladies. Banorda. Would you please read now the next paragraph in this purport?
I offer my respectful obeisances unto 6 Goswamis, namely Shri Sanatan Goswami, Shri Rupa Goswami, Shri Raghunath Bhatt Goswami, Shri Raghunath Das Goswami, Shri Jiva Goswami, and Shri Gopal Bhatt Goswami, who are very expert in scrutinizingly studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principle for the benefit of all human beings. Thus they are honored all over the 3 worlds, and they are worth taking shelter of because they are absorbed in the mood of gopis and are engaged in the transcendental loving service of Radha and Krishna.
Mother Prabhupada Priya, would you please read the last paragraph?
Thus, Jara, the effect of old age, does not harass a devotee. This is because a devotee follows the instructions and the determination of Narada Muni. All devotees are in the disciplic succession stemming from Narada Muni, because they worship the deity according to Narada Muni's direction, namely the Narada Pancharatra, or the Pancharatrika Vidhi. A devotee follows the principles of Pancharatrika Vidhi as well as Bhagavad Vidhi.
Now that's the text that we use for deity worship, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Pancharatra Vidhi. Okay, go on.
Bhagavad Vidhi includes preaching work, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, the hearing and chanting of the glories of Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Pancharatrika Vidhi includes Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. Because a devotee rigidly follows the instructions of Narada Muni, he has no fear of old age, disease, or death. Apparently, a devotee may grow old, but he is not subjected to the symptoms of defeat experienced by a common man in old age. Consequently, old age does not make a devotee fearful of death, as a common man is fearful of death. When Jara or old age takes shelter of a devotee, Kalakanya diminishes the devotee's fear. A devotee knows that after death he is going back home, back to Godhead. Therefore, he has no fear of death. Thus, instead of depressing a devotee, advanced age helps him become fearless and thus happy.
But Prabhupada does say that that we should be afraid of that the common man should be afraid of death, but he is not. Not until he reaches old age or until he develops some sort of sickness that will be like a sign of his impending death. Is it too late to say Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshun Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Dadati Swavadantikam. So part of this, maybe a great part of this allegory, is warning King Prachinabarhishat. I got it out, didn't I? The king, Narada Muni is warning the king by use of a story that death is impending, and therefore he should not devote all of his time and energy to pleasing the five senses, and he should not be too much attracted to his beautiful wife. And we can say the same thing is true for ladies as well. They should not be too much attracted to a very handsome, very nicely mannered husband, even though anyone would be attracted to a person like that, even if the physical form were not so much attractive. Still, the personality is what causes a person to be loved by everyone. So everyone that comes into contact with such a person then can hardly help by being attracted. But Srila Prabhupada's instructions are that we should not become too much attracted to the physical husband or wife, because that would do as King, what was the allegory king's name? No, the allegory king, Puranjana. Just as Narada Muni was describing King Puranjana's nature to King Prachinabarsha, so that he can teach him a lesson. So he's saying that you're going to have to give all this up anyhow, so you might as well begin practicing it, because if you continue to enjoy with your queen for many, many years, as King Puranjana has done, then there's going to be a time at which the city is going to be attacked. That means your physical body and your senses are going to become weakened, and your ability to extract pleasure by use of your human form becomes diminished. And we can see that. I have a personal example of that because of the age of the body that I happen to be inhabiting right now. But I can remember a time when I was 23, 25 years old, and I was attracted to everything that, around me, especially those things which seemed to be related to me. My automobile, my house, my wife, and then as the children came, to the children as well. But as time goes on, we can see that all of these wonderful assets, if we might call them that, will eventually leave you in one way or another, or you'll be forced to leave them as well. So Prabhupada says that we should fear this oncoming death, and we should be aware that it's not necessarily going to occur when we get into our 70s or 80s, because there's so many little children who are being attacked by cancer and other forms of disease in the hospitals now, and it's very pitiable that a child has to undergo such as that, when so many of us have had reasonably pleasant childhoods, and we've had, perhaps our parents have provided for us, if not luxuriously, at least they provided for our needs. They kept a roof over our heads. They kept food available to us, and they made sure that, if you're very lucky nowadays, you were very fortunate to have two-parent household instead of a one-person household, or even worse than that, to be in the system. In other words, to be kept by what do we call it? Persons who act as parents, foster parents. Now, that's not to say that all foster situations are bad. they're probably as good as a conscientious person could make them, but still the child has to be without that loving connection of a mother that he can always depend on to be there, or a caring father who provides for the family, who also provides affection and love for the children. So, in the best of settings, then the child will have a two-parent household in which both parents are caring and loving and providing for all the needs of the child. But Prabhupada has come to awaken us to the fact that that kind of household will not continue forever. Those relationships will not continue forever. My wife's father, just couple of months ago, gave up his body at the age of 97. And he was in a nursing care facility, but his mind was still very highly functional. And yet, in his last few weeks or days, he became very embittered. And, looking at his situation here, he was the only son of a farming couple who had accumulated some 700 acres of land, either by purchasing or by inheriting. And they were loving parents, very good parents. And he had a group of friends living in the rural community that my wife and I grew up in, people who were about his age, and they were friends, and they would get together and talk about times that they served in the military overseas during World War II or did something else together, and this was a very enjoyable life. But toward the end of his life, what happened to all of his friends? They were gone. They were no longer present. And that's the way an old person experiences life, that in his last years, he's very fortunate, he or she is very fortunate to have even one or two close friends of about the same age as them. And otherwise, even if you have a spouse and children, the spouse may be gone as well, and the children have got their own lives to live, and they've got their children, and so you're just kind of left there. No job. I'm not producing any money anymore. I'm no longer a respected member of my society. Nobody looks up to me. Nobody comes to me asking for advice or instruction. And so those last few years can be very devastating to a person who doesn't have any knowledge of the way things have been set up in this material world. And this material world is a place full of suffering and ignorance. As a matter of fact, when we sing the prayer, Shadila Rabijaja Jodindriya Tahikal, before we honor prasadam, we say, oh Lord, this material body is a place of suffering and ignorance, and the senses are a network of paths that lead us to death. So we become more and more aware of that as we increase in age. But if we follow the principles of Vaishnavism as they've been inculcated by Srila Prabhupada, we can understand that everything is happening just as it's supposed to. This body is becoming worn out, and I'm watching it do that. I'm not still that 25-year-old guy inside. And I'll look in the mirror and I say, what happened? And so we realize that eventually everything is taken away from us. And our spiritual masters also said that. He said, and so you just have to continue your service even as those miseries come on you, because this is the only way that you're going to make it out of this material world. And for some of us, we're not so sure that we'll make it out of this material world, but if we're very fortunate, we'll be transferred in our next life form to the universe in which Lord Chaitanya is appearing. Did you know that's a possibility? If you don't quite make it to the end of this lifetime and fulfill all of the requirements that are necessary for going back to the spiritual world, and that's not an easy place to get back to, but with the help of a spiritual master such as Srila Prabhupada and his disciples, then we have a shot at it. If not, then we can at least pray that our spiritual master, at the time of our death, he will be there and take our hands and say, "Hey, Rupanuga, come. I got a place for you to go. I got some work for you to do." And so that's, we can hope for something like that. So regardless of whether we come back into this material world or whether we go to the spiritual world, we just hope that we can be in the association of our spiritual master and our Param spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada. We're out of time, but does anybody have a question or a comment you'd like to make before we go and have breakfast? Okay, thank you very much. If you have questions, please, we have so many senior devotees around here, such as Dharashai Prabhu. Anytime you have questions that you need, especially philosophical questions, maybe not questions like, how do I get my kid to behave, or stuff like that, but, philosophical questions, you're in a community that has quite a large number of persons who can help. And not all of them are old like me, but some are up and coming, and they're very mature in their spiritual lives already. Is that okay? So now we offer our respectful obeisance to all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who are just like desire trees, who fulfill the desires of everyone and who are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindubhya eva cha patitanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Radha Kalachandji Dham ki jai, Gaura Premananda.